Greetings and salutations to all you folks out there. Back for another round in Supreme Commander. This time we're going to be on Open Palms. And I've been doing a lot of 1 versus 1s recently. I do realize that, and I need to call on you guys to send me some replays. I've just about burned through my whole backlog of team games. I've got 1 or 2 more that I'm going to be using for Insanity on Saturday and a couple of other things. I've been trolling the forums, pulling these replays, and even digging up some on my own. So if you guys see any epic team game matches or even 1 versus 1s, I do enjoy casting those as well. Please send them my way because I am always in need of replays. There is no need to ask. Send them to me through the email address in the description. That is the best way to get them to me, and I will be more than happy to take a look at them for you. Alright, today we're going to be on Open Palms. This is a 1 versus 1 between Yorick in the north side, or left side, depending on what you prefer, and Black Death on the south side. 1736 and 1685. These guys are within about 50 points of each other on the ladder, and I think we can qualify that as a good matchup. Black Death going land first, as is pretty much mandatory. Yes, there is air first, and yes, there is bomber first in some builds, but usually it's land first, and he is actually going second land as well, pushing up for Hydro with 2 engineers, and he is getting a little bit of manual reclaim there on the rocks. He did shoot a scout across. That is to tell whether or not his opponent went first T1 bomber. That scout will make contact with the air unit on its way across the map and give you those few precious seconds of anticipation that you need to solve the problem. Yorick going first land, a traditional power build, and then T1 Air Factory second. Hydro going down with 3 engineers and then lots of land factories on the front to build up all of the land units that you need to hold map control on Open Palms. Open Palms is a doozy of a map to play, much more so than it would appear at first glance. You might say, hey, this isn't that big of a map. It's fairly well oriented. You've got a narrow playing field. Well, it's not that narrow, and run-bys are a common occurrence. You've got 2 plateaus to grab a hold of that you need to control in order to win, because there's 3 mass extractors on each side and some strategic points of operation here where you can get T1 artillery to kill off these things, mobile missile launchers to harass the side bases. It is actually a lot more useful than it looks at first glance. And then run-bys galore down both sides into the back area, drops, that kind of thing. It's a lot to worry about, a lot to micromanage, and sometimes I epically fail at it, but hopefully both of these guys, with the scores that they have on the ladder, easily 500 points ahead of me, both of them, maybe we'll see a little bit of a good game going on here. Alright, the first air factory is up for Black Death. He's actually got a scout out and working on an interceptor now after the second scout. There is a bomber out for Yorick. He is going for that early aggression. Probably going to try to kill off some early expansioneers, because if you can hit the ones that are going out to the sides, that delays expansion by great amounts, which is basically exactly what you want to do in a 1 versus 1. You want to keep your opponent contained as long as possible. That bomber moving in, going to make a drop for this engineer and will hit it right on the nose. That interceptor is following up very quickly. Drop it out of the sky, and that bomber is out of here. 1 engineer kill under its belt. A little bit of harassment's always a good thing, but I don't think that one was completely worth it. T1 land factories pumping out Mantis now. There are more factories coming. They are adjacent to the mass extractor on the front to make the most of what mass you have in the early game, and Black Death is going to be pushing his ACU right across the mid. It looks like we got an early ACU push on our hands. This ought to be an interesting one to watch. You'll have to excuse me today, guys. My throat is a little bit on the rough side, so I might have to cut the mic a couple of times as we move forward with this. Alright, Yorick is moving out to the left. He's going to ensure that he has at least 1 expansion that can't really be contested in the early part of the game. He's going to grab those 4 mass extractors there. Then he's got an engineer moving out to the right. Nice little squad of 4 tanks down this way, and some more streaming behind it. There is a clump of 5 Mantis on that side, which should be able to deal at least with the first wave. ACU is going to have to abandon his plans, try to pursue those Mantis, which are immediately going to move off to the right away from that ACU and certain doom, and move a little bit more towards the mid. Point defense going down on the front end, trying to keep some of these units at check for Yorick. And that is going to be a net neutral right there. 1 Mantis and 2 Thams lost, and both parties going to pull back away from operations. Those Mantis are going to try to get into the back end here. Hopefully they will be successful, but it doesn't look like they will make it too terribly far because there's 2 Thams moving in from the side. Unfortunately, it will be 1 Tham versus 2 Mantis for the majority of this time, and I think those Mantis are going to be able to take care of at least 3 tanks. Another one moving up from the rear. Luckily, Thams are second in speed to Mantis. They're not quite as slow as Strikers, and they're much quicker than Auroras, but they're still going to lose out to the speedy Mantis, which are going to make it to the back. Looks like that engineer might be a lost cause there for Yorick. Mantis moving up on this side. The ACU for Black Death is way forward. He is actually up in the right side expansion of his opponent. That is an incredibly forward position to have your commander in, especially when you consider how much build power is online back here. That could easily turn into a dangerous situation. However, he is backing up his commander with a pile of Mantis, and it looks like Yorick is going to match pace, seeing where his commander, or seeing where his enemy's commander is placed and seeing where all the units are flowing. He is going to risk it. He's going to go out here, try to grab that expansion and counteract the extreme push from Black Death. But there are 3 Mantis just waiting for that ACU to get out of the way. They're going to move in and try to take out those extractors. At the moment, Black Death sitting on 29 income to Yorick's 31. Now they are even, and Black Death is slightly ahead on power. It is anybody's game, though, for sure, but that is a beautiful bombing run, a scout, and 4 engineers killed in one pass, stalling the build on that land factory. Excellently done. That is a hard hit to take when you lose that many engineers back in your home base. Looks like it's going to be a second pass with the radar and another engineer, and there it goes. The base is being disorganized pretty heavily for Yorick, and he's going to have to react in some manner. He's also lost these mass extractors here, and that ACU looks like he is moving towards the base to break up things even further. Another engineer strike, killing off that radar that was on the way, and another engineer. That thing has got to be dealt with very, very soon. Yorick's sitting on an interceptor that is not responding. There it is. Finally going to get caught up in an automatic attack on that. Going to be able to kill off that bomber before it gets another pass off. So that is the end of the bomber domination, but here comes the commander to try and wrest control of this base away from Yorick. He has a sizable force of Mantis backing him up. The only bad thing is there is a T1 point defense right there, which may be a little difficult to get through. Does he have overcharge? He does not. So he's not going to be able to get rid of that point defense that easily. Those Mantis are going to try to shoot into the back end of the base. Black Death skirting that T1 point defense as best he possibly can, moving down to engage those tanks. Remember that your ACU is worth about 20 tanks. Give or take a little less if you don't micro at all, and a little more if you have an overcharge under your belt and some careful control backed up by a few units. So these two forces are actually pretty much identical in strength if I was to take a guess at it. That point defense is throwing a little wrench in the works, and Black Death is still bringing up more units from the back end. If you look at the map control, Black Death is looking light years ahead of where Yorick is at. Yorick has these 4 mass extractors out here. He's at a 12 at least mass disadvantage on income, and he has an ACU threatening the very threshold of his base. This is going to be a little bit of a pickle to get out of. He's going to have to be very careful about how he expends his tanks, because if he gives up too many combating that ACU, the ACU will escape with a veterancy, and there will be Mantis left to kill the base. And if he goes after the Mantis completely, the ACU is going to pick him off with impunity. So this is a little bit of a situation, although it does look like he is forcing Black Death back. He did lose the point defense there, and in my opinion, Black Death still has a superior group of units, but that lack of overcharge is kind of biting him in the butt. He's about to pick up a veterancy, though, that will beef up that commander quite substantially. But the Mantis are finally starting to go down. The tide is starting to turn right there on the front. And it looks like they have... Nope, they are not going to divert their attention. I thought they were about to go after Yorick's commander, who has cheekily moved right up into the flank of Black Death's base. He is going to throw down a couple of point defense, land factory, and he has a Cellin with him for radar right there. So these guys are basically in each other's bases. Maybe we'll see a base trade. That would be a weird one on Open Palms. I don't think I've seen one of those before. If someone has, shoot me a replay. I'd love to watch that. Black Death down to about half health now. A little under half health. He needs to pull his Mantis up and kill those tanks before his ACU gets any lower. And on the right-hand side, Yorick maybe not making up much ground as far as claiming the map, but he is definitely reducing Black Death's hold on it. So kudos to him. Killing off all those mass extractors, reducing the income. It's 39 to 29 at the moment, and it looks like they're also about the same on power. So still a neck-and-neck game. It looks like a lot of destruction has happened, but it's been mutual destruction. Both sides getting hit in just about equal amounts. Yorick has decided it's time to turn tail and run. He is getting out of here while the getting is good, because I'm sure he sees there's about 50 T1 units on that side and about a dozen on his left. So if he gets pinched between those two, his ACU is surely going to die. When are we going to see a T2 HQ? That is my question, because it is only a matter of time before we start seeing Ilshava spam. That's pretty much the only reason to go Seraphim, and if you do end up with Seraphim due to randomness, then it's pretty much the only strategy that is worth anything. Those Thams running towards the back end, doubt they'll do much good though. I spy a drop over here. There is a point defense there. We will defend it against anything that does not also have T1 artillery packed in with it. Manta is still skirting around the ACU, or trying to. There's finally enough tanks online for Yorick to respond to pretty much anything that gets thrown at him, and he has brought his income to within 6 of his opponents. That transport is going to drop units on the mesa there, secure those mass extractors, and hopefully get a position set up there where he can attack some of these expansions on this side. Looks like the land factory there is going to finish before the Mantis hit it. And there are 2 Thams already, so this should be a safe position. Maybe he'll lose some units back there, maybe even a mass extractor or 2, but he will be able to get it right back in hand as he builds engineers from that factory. Lots of engineers being built back here, and more factories getting things online to spam even more. You gotta have a lot of units to control the landmass on Open Palms, because you have to be in many places at once. You can't build 10 super strong units and put them in one corner of the map and expect to win, because they'll just get run around. You have to maintain a large mobile force in multiple places in order to hold your position. Yorick is throwing down all of the mass extractors on this side with his ACU, and then I'm sure he'll be building that land factory pretty quickly in order to get some build power next to his commander. Whether you're building engineers to assist on a T2 upgrade, or no matter what you're doing, it's always good to have a factory right near your ACU. You can even pump out anti-air units with it. No, there's not going to be a mercy snipe because there's no Aeon in this game, but it is still a valid principle. Lots of Mantis moving up into this side expansion. They are unfortunately a little strung out though. They need to be clumped, and I think the force from Yorick is about equal in strength. So at worst, they'll take out a few mass extractors and then get beaten back, but overall I think this is a wise position to take, just kind of feinting and then pulling away. Still a couple of interceptors in the back. Not much air being built, actually. There's been a single transport. There's been a handful of T1 bombers, not much in the way of interceptors. Yorick does have a dozen or so at his disposal on the north side, which is significantly more than Black Death has, but still not anything that you would actually label a good, solid air force. Pincer maneuver on those Mantis. They are going to get obliterated. That is going to leave a nice, tasty little chunk of reclaim for Yorick to grab. Speaking of reclaim, we need to check in on these guys' ecos. Yorick is sitting on 600 power income, which is about 240 behind what his opponent is making, but he is pretty well balanced, reclaimed about 5,000 mass. We've got 2,000 mass in the bag for Black Death, who is overflowing about 100 power on 880 income. So that is going to be slight advantage towards Black Death as far as actual income goes, but Yorick has reclaimed over double what Black Death has. And as we all know, Reclaim is the name of the game in Supreme Commander. It might as well be called Supreme Reclaim for all we're concerned about. Mantis moving up into the center mesa. Thams responding. That point defense did not get completely built, unfortunately. That is A sad, sad thing to see when the very unit that could have denied that entire assault was just a few HP shy of being built. There goes a couple of engineers all the way to the back. I'm not entirely sure what they're hoping to achieve, though, because there are a pretty good number of tanks in that corner of the map. They're building land factories, going to try to get an assault force up. There is a scout, though, on patrol, and that is immediately going to sight those units, and the FAMs will be able to respond no problemo. There they go. That, folks, is why you keep your intel up to date. It prevents large problems. You can solve them while they're still small. That ACU still unupgraded, standing in the way of the advance of all of these units. Looks like Black Death does have tier 2 on his ACU, though, and he is going to move forward. Cerberus turret creep can actually work when there's so much T1 spam, because Cerberus turrets are excellent at taking out T1 units. The other factions may have slightly lower DP, or slightly lower firing cycle. They're going to have lower... you know what? Let me just drop that train of thought because I got completely adrift right there. Ignore what I just said. I was approaching that from the wrong angle. The Cerberus turret has the highest firing rate of any of the turrets. Therefore, it can retarget quicker, but it does the lowest amount of DPS. So, T1 units, it's great against. T2, not quite so much. Other units, other factions do better with their point defense against large targets. But you guys already know all this. You're not here for the technical details. Well, most of you anyway. Especially when I get so dang tied up about them. Alright, we got all these factories paused. That's because we have a T2 HQ and 2 support factories finally pumping out those dreaded Ilshivas. It is as unavoidable as the Cyberns building Vipers. Ilshivas pretty much seen in every single game with Seraphim in it. Units moving forward now against the red side, but those are going to be beaten back, I think, because there are some T1 point defense here ready to guard this base from being overrun. If they stop there and the Zooies can fire on those point defense and take them out, that might be a different story, but it is going to be a little difficult. Cerberus turrets going down for Black Death. He's building 3 on this side, guarded by 2 T1 point defense. That is pretty much going to be a swarm-proof location unless there's just an absurd amount of units. On this side, it is still mainly Thams. We've got 1 Brave Ilshiva right here on the front that has already got a kill on it. That unit is going to draw back. Those guys are going to pull away. There's actually 2 right there. 1 with 4 kills and 1 with none. Couple of rhinos on this side. There's also a couple of Cerberus turrets going down. And I say a couple, I mean 5. There are 5 Cerberus turrets going down on that side. They will help prevent run-bys. You'll be able to keep your units right here, maybe swarm them just far enough in front of the point defense that units can't actually reach the Cerberus turrets, but those will provide a strong point to fall back on. Looks like Yorick is going to attempt to take the Mesa. He's got 2 land factories going down. There's only 1 on this side, but there is a little bit of a head start in unit count for Black Death. It doesn't look like he has... Well, he has radar, so he should have intel on it. Let's take a look right there. Yes, he can see it, but he will not be able to take it. We've got 7 tanks versus 5 and a few Medusas. As long as those Thams get a move on, they will be able to swarm that quite easily. Maybe a T1 point defense would not be out of order on that side. Looks like T2 has been dropped on Yorick's commander. He's now building the Seraphim T2 point defense that I cannot pronounce. Utoshala. Yeah, let's leave it at that. He has some walking T1 point defense on the middle, though. Those Ilshivas are going to be able to stand up to the onslaught of Mantis. Rhinos are a little bit of a different story. Actually, that is a Wagner, but Ilshiva is still pretty dang strong on a mass-to-mass comparison. They will be able to get, I think, a veterancy? Nope. 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, and 2 out of 10, but the Medusa stun is becoming a problem. Those Ilshivas stunned in place, cannot move, cannot react, and they are all going to die. That, my friends, is why you do not sit still when Seraphim be shooting at you. Black Death throwing down another group of Cerberus turrets on this side, just trying to lock down his position beyond Yorick's ability to push him. You do still want to keep a lot of units on hand, because should one side or the other decide to spam mobile missile launchers, you've got to have something to respond with. Yorick moving over, I'm assuming probably to try to build a T2 point defense, but it might be a little too late for that. Medusa's moving up, killing point defense as they go. They're going to be able to wipe clean that Mesa. T2 engineers have finished their Cerberus turret building round. That's easily going to hold back the forces of Yorick on this side. Unfortunately, that's going to leave a large mass field. Maybe Yorick can get part of it for himself. T1 point defense and T2 there, but I don't think he's going to be able to get that completed. Maybe he will. Maybe he actually will. Look at that. 3 Medusas per firing cycle. That one got 4. Perfect lineup for that T2 point defense, showcasing the strength of the Seraphim. The only reason I don't like Seraphim over Cybran for their point defense is that, number one, Seraphim point defense has a problem hitting units that are traveling to the side. It is a little bit of a buggy aspect with how beam weaponry works. And the Cerberus turret can hit things that the Seraphim turret cannot, because it sits just a little bit higher off the ground. It's not affected by terrain quite so much. Also, Seraphim is a lot more expensive for their T2 point defense. Ilshiv is moving in, killing off all of that stuff. Still not able to move up into range of the T2 point defense there, but they will be able to clear out things that are trying to get reclaimed. Definitely needs to pick up those engineers as well in order to avoid that mass falling back into Black Death's hands. Yorick at the moment is pushing 108 mass per tick on 12,000 reclaim. Black Death, 6,000 reclaim, exactly half as much, and 116 income. Ever so slightly more, but not enough to make up for the reclaim discrepancy. T1 bombers coming in, sniping that T1 radar. That is actually a worthwhile expenditure of bombers. See, we got two T2 gens on that side. Yorick is still ahead in power production. He has 2 over here. A little bit more extensive T1 grid. Look at all of the air factories he has planned. Looks like we're going to see a massive interceptor spamming campaign. Goodness gracious, get your tongue untied, Brink. 2 land factories up here now. That will allow him to match production on that side. And things have pretty much slowed. Looks like we're at a standstill for the most part. Yorick just doubling down on that reclaim. It's absolutely insane how much he has gotten. That engineer up there bravely reclaiming in the face of those T2 point defense. Does Black have... Yes, he does. There it is. I was wondering about the range on that, because I was like, they have to be close. They have to be close. Alright, first engagement right there. T1 artillery moving up to kill that mass extractor, and that forced a response. So we're about to see how that turns out. And there is a TAC missile launcher. Was loaded up with about 5 ready to go. That is going to wipe out the entire left side expansion, all 4 mass extractors, and then the TMD will prevent hits on this side. We've got a lot of units moving up to kill that son of a gun. Don't think it'll be around much longer, but it was probably worth it for killing those 4 mass extractors. That's going to knock Black Death's income down a peg, down to 105. All of those units pouring across this. The Medusa stunning that T2 point defense enough to let all of the other units slip by with minimal casualties, and then that Tech 2 tactical missile launcher is no more. Sad, sad day when such a valuable piece of tech is lost. T2 transport dropping a couple of rhinos into the mix. That is going to turn the tide versus Yorick's base. Up to that point, it was pretty dang even, but a couple of rhinos and stunning down that T1 point defense made all the difference in the world. Yorick is going to be pushed away from that plateau. It's going to leave each player with control of 1, and this is exactly what I was talking about with the aggressive plateau play. You've got mobile missile launchers and flak on this side, so you're going to be able to prevent drops skirting the edge of the map. You're going to be able to harass air units around the edge of the map, and the mobile missile launchers will be able to hit most of the stuff in this base from the edge of the plateau. I see a T1 artillery drop. That is probably not going to go too terribly well. No, there are not any combat units on this side. There's a dead-in-the-water T2 factory not producing anything. 2 T2 P-Gens in the back. Looks like we're going to have a heavy air loss for Yorick, but he was able to distract those interceptors long enough to get that T3 tank and the Zooies on the ground. Unfortunately, he had all of his artillery in range of the explosion of the T2 power generator right there. That could have turned out a lot better, but that tank is definitely going to pay for itself, killing off that power and potentially a T3 mass extractor, although that T1 point defense is definitely hammering away at that tank. Looks like it's going to go down to about half health, and a KO is in order. T3 tanks moving to the right now. Yes, there is a T3 answer from Black Death, who is pumping out a lot of Loyalists and a few Trebuchets, which are actually going to be brilliantly useful on this map. A couple of T1 mass extractors going down there to those artillery, and then mobile missile launchers doing their best to harass the outside edges from their plateau. Alright, Trebuchets are going to be amazing in this kind of fight because you have large clusters of units everywhere you look. That means that they will be able to deal tons and tons of damage. Lowest damage potential, highest area of effect equals good versus units. Yorick is still struggling to get back air control. He does have so much air production here. He's actually planning on drops, I think. We got 6 T2 transports. Question is, can he get enough of a grasp on air that he can actually pull that off without endangering his troops? Moving forward, the Authams are going to be stronger than Loyalists in a 1v1 confrontation, but when you have this many Loyalists and that much point defense, it's a little bit tougher to sell. See the Trebuchet shots also colliding with these units, dealing damage, softening up those targets as they move into range of his own units. Black Death is doing an excellent job of unit manipulation here, using every single one of these to its strength and playing up Yorick's forces. That's going to leave a pile of reclaim right here, probably within easier reach of Black Death than Yorick. Hopefully he can do something about that. I like the Corsairs off to the side, eliminating those threats that were harassing the side there, and dealing with those mobile missile launchers properly and with force, because that's what you need. Yet more T2 transports coming out. Good lord, man. We're going to get the units to fill those things. And how are you planning on flying them when you have no air control? His interceptor's still not able to overcome the amount that Black Death has put out. He has a T2 and a T1 factory, both of them pumping interceptors. Nope, that one is building Corsairs under heavy assistance. There's a T3 P-Gen going down. That means interesting things are sure to come. Oh, Black Death did have an air advantage until he flew into range of those 4 anti-air platforms. That is going to absolutely demolish his air forces, leave him without much to defend himself with. So I think we can expect some drops very shortly. Trebuchet's wiping out not only those engineers, but also some of the mass value in those wrecks. Any damage taken by the wrecks is applied the same as it would to the HP of the unit, and it decreases the value of the wreck. A wreck by itself, it's 90% health and 90% of that in wreckage. Ooh, Corsairs trying to take out that T3 HQ. That was an ambitious target, but they are not going to be able to make it due to the loss of those interceptors. And there go the drops that I was talking about just a few minutes ago. All of those Corsairs are going to get shot down. Going for the build power instead. Realized that he cannot kill the factory, so he's going for the engineers. Smart going. And there's another drop as well. 2 bricks on that side. I'm going to have to watch these drops coming down here. I don't think that's going to be anywhere near as successful because we have multiple T1 point defense online, T2 point defense going down, and a whole bunch of Wagners. There's 1 T3 tank with the group as before and a lot of T1 mobile artillery, but that Cerberus and the Wagners are going to be able to eliminate those without any problem whatsoever. No damage done, heavy loss for Yorick. That is unfortunate. I spy with my little eye a Monkey Lord about to get on with its escapades. Yorick building T2 point defense on this side. That is a bit of an exposed commander, and I don't think he has enough T3 units clumped up to actually kill that Monkey Lord. He is, however, scaling up his T3 production. He's got 3 factories already on it, 1 producing flak, and he's getting his power scaled up as well. Gunships responding to those bricks. There were a few interceptors that tried to kill those, but Yorick was able to kill them off very, very easily. Those bricks are not going to do a dang thing helpful. Alright, well, we've now again met a little bit of a stalemate. These guys are both in control of exactly half of the map. Nice T3 mobile artillery there. You can see the devastation wrought upon those T1s. Killing off about half the group in one freaking shot. This side is going to be in danger. We have a complete Monkey Lord. I think our little moment of calm is about to be over. Gunships are not going to be the proper response to this because I do believe... No, there's not flak, actually. That is a tremendous mistake on Black Death's part. He needs to get some anti-air in with those units, the T3 and the T4. Otherwise, he's going to lose them. The air game is too strong for Yorick. Well, looks like we are going to see a little bit of a movement here. How many tanks is enough? Well, we've got 11 on this side moving in, and a whole lot of T2 point defense. That is actually enough to kill a Monkey Lord. The Monkey is accompanied by a couple of bricks and some loyalists, though, so it's not quite so simple. These guys are going to have to duke it out, see who can be left remaining with most units. That was a long and roundabout way to say that. And on the north side, taking advantage of the distraction in the south to try to get a group of units in, but I don't think that is going to be successful. All of the Zooies and T3 tanks moving down to intercept that. Monkey Lord is not vetted. 9 kills. 10 kills now. Plinking off units one by one with the long-range cannons. And now we have the full troop movement. Not sure why the flak is moving up and on the front line. That definitely needs to be kept back at least a little bit to preserve it. That Monkey Lord is going to rip into the flank of that army. Bricks kiting from one side, Monkey Lord hitting from the other. It's going to run away, using its range to its advantage and vetting up as it goes. 1 veterancy in the tank and another shortly to come. Those T3 units count a lot towards veterancy. On the right-hand side here, building has pretty much come to a standstill, but there are still enough trebuchets and Cerberus turrets that I think well, I don't know. The push might be successful, but it looks like he is going to pull that back just a little bit. Monkey Lord moving forward again. Yorick airlifting his ACU out. He is moving to the back of the map there. Gunships moving up to try to do a little damage to the Monkey Lord, getting shot down by the bangers that have been brought in from the back. That's a whole lot of bees right in a row. 54,000 health on that spider, and it is going to crawl through the base, continuing to do an inordinate amount of damage to the structures there for Yorick. It's pretty much going to be the entire side expansion wiped out. Ooh, too ambitious with the mouse movements there. On the right-hand side, though, we have a counter. The Monkey Lord is actually going to be brought back because he's worried about the safety of his base. Black Death pulling everything in to try to defend against these T3 tanks moving in on the right. That is not going to be good if he loses his T3 HQ. He also has some power in danger on this side, but he has enough bricks and loyalists to respond, and the second Monkey Lord coming online, there is fire raining down from the Sithanos in the back. T3 mobile artillery, ideal for base destruction. It looks like he is going to be able to kill that T3 HQ. It's going to be a bit of a loss for Black Death. That's going to stall his T3 production for quite a while. He now has a veterancy on that Monkey Lord as he moves it back up north. Yorick up on the front line again on this side. He's going to be in danger of that Monkey Lord moving forward. Monkey Lord moving on the left as well. 58k health on that one with a couple of veterancy. There is a Yathatha on the way. Hopefully it will be able to help out with this T4 threat, because right now things do not look good for Yorick. He is going to be able to save his ACU from those Corsairs, but he is fleeing a much more dangerous enemy. Spider is following his commander that's getting tangled up in all of these units. Monkey Lord is moving a bit too hard north, though. ACU moving to the left. escaping by the skin of his teeth. I hear a Yathatha that is hammering away at the Monkey Lord on this side. It was able to kill one T2 P-Gen. Not much of a loss, and it's going to be forced back out of the base. Authams. How do I keep messing that up? Moving in from the left, a huge group, definitely enough to kill a Monkey Lord by itself. But unfortunately, the bricks are going to even up the fight. Moving forward to tear through those units. Yorick deciding against finishing off all of his shields there, and he is going to flee back towards the base. Yathatha chasing that spider down. He's going to kill it off with the final blow from that Gatling gun. There it goes. One T4 down, and that Yathatha is free to roam on the south side of the map. That is going to be bad news for Black Death. He's bringing his spider back down south, all of his units. He's got 2 loyalists on raid duty up in the north. And where is his commander? Right there, building yet another Monkey Lord. That's going to make 3 on the map. All the Cerberus turrets on the south side, not enough to deny a Yathatha. Cerberus turrets are amazing versus smaller units, but versus T4s, versus stronger things, they just curl up and die in the face of combat. That is a sad thing to see, that Yathatha not even close to half health, and he is going to be free to roam once again. 3 Cerberus turrets up on the north side, but I don't think there's anything that those can do against the might of the Yathatha. Finally got the right name on the right unit. 2 Monkey Lords moving south. They're going to try to come in contact with that Yathatha. Looks like Yorick is going to go for resource allocation. Maybe we'll see some T3 air out of this. He's still building T2. Looks like lots and lots of Nothas. T2 fighter bombers are going to pack a punch versus T4s. Nothas, I think, have the highest damage of any single T2 fighter bomber. Should do an excellent job versus the Monkey Lords. One at 33,000 health and one at 45,000. Looks like some Authams moving south, but they are not going to be able to match up those 2 Monkey Lords. Yathatha changing course as well, chasing those back, and here come the Nothas, tearing towards that Monkey Lord. That's going to be a hard hit, possibly down below 25,000 or 25% health. There it is, 11,000. And interceptors moving up from the back to try to protect those. Well executed by Yorick. He was able to stave off that invasion for just a little bit longer. Rast is about 25% complete, and he is still trying to build that Yathatha at the same time. Get that second T4 online. You know, they don't do much damage, but it's better than nothing. T2 transports plinking away at that Loyalist, trying to kill it. Hopefully the Nothas are going to be able to move back and take it. Black Death losing his right side expansion now to Authams, and things are looking a little bit more bleak. There was a run by on the south side, but it is going to be handled by the massive bank of Cerberus turrets over there, so nothing to be worried about in that regard. At the moment, Black Death on 144 income, Yorick on 279 with reclaim, 220 actual. And the reclaim number is absurd there. 27,000 for Black Death and 73,000. Pushing up on 2.5 times as much reclaim for Yorick. Yorick is just playing this up versus Black Death. The bad thing is that Seraphim has the weaker units in this. Once Black Death is able to get up a couple of megaliths, if the game goes on that long, there's pretty much nothing that Yathathas will be able to do. The bricks are stronger than Authams if he can get rid of these little clusters of units here. Simon technically has the stronger units, but he's still building Monkey Lords. That's interesting. Although, 4 Monkey Lords is stronger than 4 Yathathas, in my opinion, if the other person is not microing super well. Because when you put Yathathas next to each other, they get exponentially weaker the more you have because of the ion storm, that nasty electrical storm that pops up and damages all the units around. Each Yathatha that dies adds more damage to the pile and eliminates your own units faster, whereas the Monkey Lords just straight up, they just die and the next ones keep on firing. There's none of that stacking effect. Alright, Monkey Lords have assembled, and now they are scattering. Monkey Lord to the right. Secure that flank. 2 Monkey Lords to the left. That's where we think the Yathatha is. And 1 more Monkey Lord to guard the middle. Alright. Things actually could be dangerous for the commander as well, judging by the sheer number of Yathathas. There goes a Monkey Lord. Daggone, that's a lot of damage. Who needs strap bombers when you have Nothas? Although technically, I think... Can the Monkey Lord dodge? I think the Monkey Lord can dodge Nothas. Oh, a split attack order for the T3P gens. That is harsh. Black Death down to half health off of the explosions from those power generators. He is now in a bit of a bad power situation. 6.1k income, stalling at 700 and overflowing mass. Not overflowing, racking up mass in his storage. He's not able to spend it all for lack of power. And now there's 2 Yathathas moving in on the side. He still has 3 Monkey Lords. He might still be able to pull this. If he can kill one of these, the Lightning Storm should damage the other enough and the tanks that he will be able to pull this out, and then he'll have all the reclaim on his side of the map, as long as he's willing to take it. For some reason, he is just not taking it. But those Yathathas moving into the base now. Ugh. Monkey Lord's moving in. Oh, ACU is running right towards the T3 tanks. 1 Monkey Lord down. And strap bombers ahoy! Yorick wiping Black Death from the face of the map. Yowzers. Alright, folks, that is Open Palms. The game swapped several times during that. Early on, Black Death was able to punch a hole straight through into Yorick's base. Then they kind of traded blows, raided each other into oblivion a couple of times. And then in the end, there was just too much mass from Yorick. Yorick did his job, reclaimed to the max. 100,000 plus reclaim to 44 for Black Death. This is one of the very, very few where I am actually going to go to the score screen because I want to see the graph on this one. That's where it really started splitting for Yorick, about 2/3 of the way through the game. But let's look at units. Yorick made fewer land units, probably due to taking up earlier, not making quite so many Mantis and Medusas, and fewer air units, slightly more structures, and let's see, resources. There's your resources. Spent 100,000 more mass than Black Death did. That's the entire reason for the win right there. Alright, folks, that's going to wrap it up for me. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please send me any replays that you have got, and I'll see you in the next one.